This week's episode of This Is Only a Test is brought to you by Stitcher Premium. Stitcher Premium gets you completely ad-free episodes of hundreds of shows like Comedy Bang Bang, WTF with Mark Maron, and How Did This Get Made? You also get 21,000 hours of exclusive content, and new exclusive originals like Marvel's Wolverine and Issa Rae's Fruit are launching every week for Stitcher Premium members. If you love podcasts, you should check it out. When you listen to ad-free episodes in Stitcher Premium, your favorite podcasters also get paid. Help support your favorite shows and join Stitcher Premium today. And for a free month of listening, go to StitcherPremium.com and use the promo code TEST.
Hey, let's start the show.
For Thursday, May 24th, 2018, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com.
Right.
Look at that fucking squirrel on my bird feeder.
And then suddenly, the Enterprise D's bridge.
You know, one of these days, not soon from now, not too far from now, we could do that intro and fade into being on the Enterprise D's bridge in Star Trek Bridge Crew.
I don't have that game for PlayStation VR.
It's going to come out on PC, the update.
I can't wait that long, Norm.
Well, that's why I said not too far from now.
Can we build
in the near future?
Can we build a Picard chair to sit in that while we play?
It's a lot of soft leather.
Did it come out on PSVR first?
It's coming out. It's PSVR
first.
Oh.
And then on the other platforms. The early reviews are not that great, though.
I don't care.
I'm a little worried. I want to sit in the chair.
The first game's not great either, but it's fun.
Yeah. You heard that intro. You heard that sound, which means that we got a Smithcast this week. Joining Jeremy Williams.
Greetings.
And me is Will Smith.
Hey, Norman and Jeremy. How are you guys doing?
Hey! Start off a great start. Doing all right. How you doing, Will?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited. I just learned... I read something very interesting moments ago about, well, okay, I have two things to say about this. One is that I read a story yesterday. I was like, a Marvel director said that Watchmen Ultimate is his favorite comic book movie, which is fair. I think Watchmen Ultimate is a fine adaptation of one of the best graphic novels of all time. But I was trying to figure out which Marvel director it was because I couldn't remember. And the first 8 stories, I think, on Google, when I search Marvel director, Watchmen, favorite comic book movie, have the headline. They have the little blurb. None of them actually list the director until you got down, all the way down to Screen Rant. So props to Screen Rant for putting this in the first paragraph. It's Scott Derrickson, who directed Doctor Strange.
Oh,
yeah,
very
which
cool.
makes sense because like those, I can see a visual... kind of a visual theme between those two films.
What's your second thing?
That was both of them.
Oh, that
One
was
is
both
that a
of them.
Marvel director likes Watchmen.
Okay.
The other is that
It was
everybody
Scott
buries
Derrickson.
the fucking lead.
Got it.
And you can't find it like that. Like all I need is the headline. Scott Derrickson likes Watchmen.
Got it.
It wasn't
Cool.
in the headline.
Hey.
There's only one movie I can think about right now.
Yeah, we're not talking about Watchmen for a little bit. We're going to talk about our top story this week.
Deadpool 2.
Top story this week.
Deadpool 2.
Top story this week.
It's been a while since you've been on the podcast, Will.
Oh, man. That's
All
a
sorts
good
of
one.
surprises.
Wow.
So,
New bumpers.
no, unfortunately, Deadpool 2, still haven't seen it. I'm really looking forward to watching it. I think I'm going to watch it on Friday.
Friday.
While many of you will probably be out there watching the movie I think Jeremy's talking about,
Solo.
A
Star Wars story. Now, did Rogue One say that in the title?
Yes.
So, from my recollection, when Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, announced that they were going to do these in-between films, between episodes 7, 8, and 9, they originally called them
Tweeners.
Anthology,
Oh.
Star Wars Anthology movies. Standalone movies that may not have sequels, may or may not. And Rogue One, of course, was the first one. I think they had one that... what's the guy? Josh Trank was working on. That was supposed to be a Boba Fett film. And that and then he was let go by Lucasfilm. And
so far, every
Solo,
director
they have a
that
high
worked
turnover.
on one of these anthology films has gotten run out of town in some way,
That's
shape,
true.
or form.
That's true. And Solo, a Star Wars story. I think Rogue One did have a Star Wars story, but Solo, a Star Wars story, comes out today. If you're listening to this on Thursday, and if some parts of the world is already out, many people have seen it. The reviews are out. The premiere was last week in LA. They had a giant built-up version of the Millennium Falcon on the red carpet. We got a Star Wars movie in the summer, folks.
This is very exciting.
Like the good old days, right?
Yeah.
You guys saw it.
I don't think Rogue One had that in the title.
Oh, it's just Rogue One?
It looks like somebody posted it to YouTube.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Could be new going
Oh,
forward.
I don't think it says a Star Wars story on the title card.
That's what I meant.
Oh, okay.
But on the poster and stuff, it said Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, yes. The
Was
answer
there-
is
is
yes.
there-
We
no-
did see it.
So there's no crawls on the anthologies.
Wait. Hold on. How much do you, Will Smith? You are the avatar for everyone listening.
I
want to
know nothing. I got
Right?
tickets for
So-
Friday night. I don't want to hear. Look.
You're
if
already asking
Chewbacca dies
questions.
at the end, I don't want to know.
Let's set this up. We're not going to go into spoilers, obviously. We're not even going into any major plot details or beats. But what we can talk about is the critical reception around the film so far, and the reviews, and just the hype leading up to it, and what people have known from trailers, for example.
You know who's awesome? Donald Glover.
In general, absolutely.
Yeah.
Donald Glover, in general.
Totally awesome.
Totally
Yes.
awesome.
He's
true.
the best.
Yeah, consistent.
From The
Yeah.
Martian to Atlanta to Galaxy long time ago and far, far away. He's
Yeah.
the best.
No spoiler there.
No spoiler. You asked a question. You made a statement, Will, that you said Star Wars anthology films don't have opening crawls, and yeah, that was the case with Rogue One.
Called
for
it.
sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that
I don't
the case
want to
with
know.
Solo?
I don't want to know. I'll find out on Friday.
You'll find out on Friday.
Don't say it. If you say anything, I'm gonna get up. Jeremy texted me this morning at like 9 o'clock. He was like, "Hey, can you come in for a podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah, but my condition is that there's no Solo spoilers."
You didn't even know he'd seen it.
No, I put that one out there up front.
Do you want to know if we liked it?
No,
Really?
no, I want to go in cold.
Do you want to know what our expectations were
cold.
going into it?
Do you know what the reviews have been? Have you?
No, I
checked
have
Ro-
not. I have not looked at anything.
No
You
Rotten
don't know
Tomatoes.
about the
I
Rotten
haven't seen
Tomato
the
score.
trailer. I haven't looked at Rotten Tomatoes. I haven't read tweets.
Do you know that
From
Han
people-
Solo is in the
Who's that?
film?
That's not me.
That's Will Smith.
That's
do,
not
do you,
me.
do you know that it's a
weird.
movie about Han Solo? Do you know that Chewie's
Wait, I thought it was about
Chewie's
those
in
red
it.
cups.
Yeah.
No. Did you see that they did a crossover?
Yeah.
A
They
did.
tie-in
Yeah.
with
The
the red
Solo
Solo
cup-
cups?
I think
stuff.
Very good
If
co-branding.
they had not done it, it would have been a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
The biggest missed opportunity.
Look, I know that Chewbacca's in it. I know that Lando is Donald Glover.
You've seen the movie
And I know
poster.
that somebody that doesn't look like Han Solo is playing Han Solo.
Well, it's an impossible task.
Yes. He's a very recognizable actor.
I can't wait to talk about this. But if we're not going to talk about it, let's not waste time on it.
I do want to talk about.
Here-
I want to talk around
You've
it.
got to control yourself. Here's the thing that I feel about Star Wars anthology movies. And I loved Rogue One. Even if I wasn't friends with Gary, I would have loved Rogue One because I think it was a really interesting story.
Yep.
Did something new for the franchise. It
Totally.
was really well told.
Many people like that more than Last Jedi.
Those people are wrong, but whatever.
What? Are you love Last
Last
Jedi?
Jedi is a phenomenal film.
You like Last Jedi?
I think Last Jedi is the best Star Wars film. I think Rogue One is very high on the list.
You
Glad
mean
we got
Have
Will
we
in
not
today.
talked about this?
You
No.
mean of the new ones?
No, of all of them.
Oh goodness, goody.
I mean, it's definitely better than any of the prequels. It's better than Jedi.
Yeah, I watched Revenge of the Sith recently, and it was unbearable.
No, those are bad movies.
Really bad.
Like even anyway, yeah, we don't need to relitigate the prequels. Everybody agrees.
Yeah, no.
But here's the
Absolutely.
thing. I think that The Last Jedi does something that is very needed. We talked about this at length on Untitled. We don't need
Yeah.
to get into it. It does something that was needed for the franchise. The problem with Star Wars is that it is moribund. The rules set by George Lucas in the first film are incredibly limiting if they want to go full Marvel Cinematic Universe with Star Wars. And they needed to open up that universe some. The problem with these anthology movies is that they're just going back and filling in the air.
Which
that
is
was
why
left in the
I think
universe.
Rogue One was so refreshing, was because Rogue One, even though technically it filled in some story gaps, it was all new characters.
Well, except for Tarkin and Leia. And,
The main cast,
yeah.
the protagonists were all new characters, and they were all expendable, and there was no pretense that it would be their story continuing on. It was a moment in time, and it, I think, made the original trilogy better. It made Episode 4 better, knowing the sacrifice, and it did the fan service, and it brought something new, and had memorable characters. K2SO, Cassian Andor,
the monk guy.
Yes, Donnie Yen.
Donnie
Yeah.
Yen.
Yeah.
I felt like Rogue One was the first one of the Disney movies that took itself seriously. In a way, you didn't throw in a bunch of cute CG rendered jokes that were just thrown in just to make the kids laugh.
So here's the thing: Star Wars has never been serious. The prequels were serious. If you wanted some serious Star Wars movies, go
Melodrama.
enjoy Attack of the Clones.
That's melodrama.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah. I mean, there's some slapstick moments in the prequels with R2D2 and
There's the
and
tongue.
Grievous. And Jar Jar Binks, obviously.
The humor in the prequels is bad.
And many people would say that about, I think, the humor in the new films.
Well, that's fine. They
A
can
difference
say
in
that.
opinion. Here, my point is this: for Rogue One, there was no expectation, even going into it, that these characters would have new franchises on themselves. It wasn't like they were doing the Rebels films or the Clone Wars films, and they were introducing a new cast of characters that would have these serialized stories. With Solo, is the expectation going in that this is going to be the definitive Han Solo origin story, and you don't need to see any more? Or does this open the door for a series of let's fill in more gaps with young Han Solo?
They're going to look. You don't cast Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian. Donald Glover wasn't in Spider-Man: Homecoming as a cameo, right? You don't bring somebody in like that if you don't intend to make more movies with that person.
Wow, good pull.
Yeah,
Good pull. Nice.
I mean, he's young Miles Morales, right?
No, he's the uncle.
Oh, okay.
He's the uncle of Miles Morales.
Well, okay.
Almost good pull.
I was close.
Nearly. You're
I
close.
was like 90%
You're
there, and then
so
I
close.
just whiffed right at the
So
last
close.
minute.
Yeah.
I had no idea you felt this way about Last Jedi, and this affects our friendship.
We've talked about this before. You've
You
just
and I
blocked it
never
from your
have.
memory.
Just take it to badminton, folks.
I
Look,
can't
Jeremy,
even
settle this on
fathom.
the court.
I feel like I'm being punked.
Jeremy, I want to sit down and watch this movie with you and explain why I think it is a phenomenal movie.
Last Jedi?
Yes.
God.
It is an incredibly well-built film.
Let's get back to the movie
Yeah.
at hand. For Solo, Will, as someone who knows that obviously it's not Harrison Ford playing Han Solo, can the movie survive if Han isn't good?
Remember when River Phoenix played young Harrison Ford in The Last Crusade?
Yep.
Yeah, that was really good for some people and really bad for most people.
So you think it's gonna be divisive?
I think it's going to be divisive.
You think? And
I think
I
you take
agree.
an iconic, one of the most iconic characters of the 20th century,
Yeah.
and you recast it as somebody that nobody's ever heard of because they don't want to pay real rates for the actor.
Well, I think nobody's ever heard of is a good thing. I think
Maybe.
unknown's a good thing.
I don't know.
think you don't have
Sometimes
any of the baggage.
It's
It's
great.
not Shia LaBeouf.
It's great for was great for Ray. It was terrible for young Anakin.
It was good for Harrison Ford.
Well, Harrison
From
Ford had been in
Carpenter to
movies at that point. He was a failing actor. He wasn't an unknown actor.
And this guy was.
I think American Graffiti was his debut.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying is he was in American Graffiti and then Star Wars and
Yeah.
then he became one of the most bankable actors of the century.
I will say that one of the benefits of Lucasfilm doing these anthology series is that they can get directors to have fresh takes on just the universe, right? Star Wars is a fantasy universe. It's not really science fiction. It's more science fiction fantasy. And when George Lucas made the original trilogy, a lot of what he did in Episode 4 was inspired by Kurosawa films, right? Hidden Fortress, which were also then inspired by, when Kurosawa made those, spaghetti westerns, right? There's the callbacks to
Everything
to
is
filming.
referential.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's a chance for new filmmakers to take established universes and world build on their own in their own little corner and apply their own styles, which I think was why a lot of people were excited when Chris Miller, Phil Lord were picked up, the directors of the Lego movie and also 21 Jump Street, to do Solo. Now, with the upheaval and those directors being let go, and the Variety has a huge story about the behind the scenes of what happened, and the general sense is that they took too much time with their directing. They relied too much on improvisation, and the shoots were getting out of hand, and they needed people who were to make decisions. They needed directors to have a vision.
Yeah.
And so they brought in Ron Howard, who directed on instinct. You'll read a lot about how he shot from the hip in directing this. And is that exciting, though? Because Ron Howard is I mean, while he's like a Spielbergian character and a director in Hollywood, you kind of know what you're going to get when you watch a Ron Howard movie.
Look, I love Apollo 13. Like, it is a phenomenal
And you
film.
love those Dan Brown films?
I can't remember the last Ron Howard movie I watched that wasn't Apollo 13.
Wow. Rush?
No.
Okay. I think that tempered the excitement for a lot of people.
Ron Howard seems very safe.
Dude, I don't think anybody outside of 1% knows Ron Howard directed this movie.
That's also a weird
It's
thing.
a Star Wars
Star
movie.
Wars is so big that whereas a Ron Howard film would have been top billing, you're watching a Ron Howard film. This is you're watching a Han Solo film. By the way, it was directed by one of the greatest directors of our generation.
So here's the thing that the interesting thing that Disney's done with Marvel is that they've taken this genre, superheroes, and then they've broken it out and they've done basically mashup films. So they did they did your space opera with Guardians. They did a Eastern mysticism movie with Doctor Strange. They did a buddy road trip movie with Thor. They did with Ragnarok. They did they did a spy thriller with Winter Soldier.
And I don't think we've seen that in the core Star Wars films because they have to follow the rules that were established by George Lucas.
They shouldn't do that with them. I mean, the main Star Wars movies are space opera meets wandering samurai movies, right? That's the mashup that already exists in that world. But with Rogue One, they made a war movie, right? Like that was really interesting to me. I hope that this is a buddy road trip movie or a heist movie or some sort of other genre. Ant-Man is a heist movie in the Marvel universe, and it works really well. It's really fun. Like I hope that that's what they do with these movies. But it feels like they're still feeling their legs. And also the cadence of the Star Wars movies being annual rather than 2 or 3 a year means that they have fewer chances, so they have to take fewer risks.
Every
which is why
movie
we see
has
Ron
to make
Howard.
$1 billion.
Yeah.
All right, look, when I have a tremendous respect for you at the foundation of our relationship here, and now I have to contend with this tremendous lack of respect, and they're battling one another over your feelings about the Last Jedi.
Did you not like that Luke was an old grumpy man?
I don't even understand what perspective you're going into this movie with, but
I
do wish you luck. I hope you like it. I really do. And here's my advice to everybody: is that when I go to see a Star Wars film, and we may differ at this point, but I have a budget of forgiveness that I'm willing to give the film.
Whoa, not a budget of forgiveness?
Yes.
Wow, that's really self-entitled. You're really entitled, Jeremy.
Ever since episode 1, you've needed this. Ever since the freaking remakes, you've needed
You're
this.
like 5 bad lines, and I'm at 5 bad moments, and I'm out.
No, at first, I had no budget. And then I wasn't enjoying the films. But now it's like when you see a cute CG thing come on the screen and it shouldn't be there and it's just there for comic relief, you got to throw some of your budget at it. And you got to say, okay, I'll forgive that.
Wow.
Let's move forward.
The point spread.
So then you got, Han Shot first might cost $1. That's not a quarter.
I mean, that's fair.
That's a lot. You're asking a lot. Like Jar Jar is unforgivable.
Can the movie make up for that? By having amazing moments? Can it build the budget back up?
You can only enjoy those moments by forgiving these atrocities. That's how I feel. So whatever. Maybe they're not atrocities. Like Han Shot first, yes, atrocity. But there are smaller things that you have to forgive in order to enjoy the movie. And I found that I needed about $1 to forgive Han Solo. So it's pretty good. In my opinion.
Wait. $1 meaning
of forgiveness.
So every mistake is a quarter?
Don't go in hoping for
the perfect film.
Empire Strikes Back, because you're gonna have to forget. It's still freaking Disney.
So this is where you and I differ, because when I go into any movie, I go in looking for one thing: am I not entertained? And I'm not bringing my personal baggage into Star Wars. I'm going in. I want to see what, if you take Rian Johnson, who's one of the greatest living directors, and you give him this multi-billion-dollar franchise, I want to see what he does with it. I want him to take me someplace I've never been before. And in that case, the J.J. Abrams one was boring because it did the same thing that I'd seen before, just with new people, which is fine. I mean, it's what he needed to do, I guess. I want to be entertained, and I want to see something that I've not seen before.
I can't wait to hear what you think.
Well, I can't wait for the Star Wars film that you can fully enjoy without having seen any other Star Wars film.
I think Rogue One is actually that film.
I think there are parts. I think majority of it is, but so many of the big moments with Vader at the end, Death Star, obviously, Tarkin, Leia, all that stuff are fan servicey and lean on the anticipation that people have for revisiting that pre-Episode 4 world and that pre-New Trilogy world. I think we're going to get that. I mean, with Jon Favreau and Rian Johnson establishing new trilogies and new TV shows outside of the main Star Wars canon in the Star Wars universe, I know you see a lot of that in Clone Wars and Rebels and that kind of stuff. But
the one benefit of us getting infinite Star Wars content from Disney and infinite money to spend at it is that they're going to finally, hopefully, be able to tell stories that you don't need to bank
That
on
have
the original
lightsabers
trilogy.
and blasters and X-wings that don't rely on you knowing who Luke Skywalker is.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about Maker Faire?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Other big story this week. We did a little bit of recap on that on Still Untitled, but I want to hear about your perspective, Jeremy. You were at Maker Faire.
Yeah.
What'd you get to see?
Yeah, I went. The thing to do at Maker Faire is to go as early as possible because the crowds keep filling in and apparently never stop getting denser and denser. So I was there at opening and I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. I'd never seen it like that. It's so wonderful to walk through those buildings and not be crowded with people and to get people, if you want to see something, you got the maker's attention and you can engage with them. I saw a ping pong table.
Ooh.
Unlike any ping pong table.
Was this the digital one?
Well, there were certainly digital components. It was like the Bee Gees. If there was a ping pong table in a Bee Gees music video, right?
Okay.
This was Staying Alive, a disco table. It was a 6x6 grid of LED squares on either side of the table that would light up when the ball would hit the squares.
And then animate around
Ooh.
the spot.
Like make splashes and stuff?
Oh, well, they would light up. And he had 4 different modes that he's programmed into it so that when the ball hits it, then maybe they extinguish, and you have to extinguish
Breakout.
all of your opponent's
How
squares.
is he detecting
It's
where the
brilliant.
ball is? Is it
We have a
motion
video coming
tracker?
out.
Yep.
We have a video coming out at some point, but he used piezo, which are usually buzzers, but
Yeah.
you can use them on the inverse to receive voltage. And he put 4 of them on either corner of each side, and then he triangulates the sound. So when the ball hits the table, he sees how long it takes for the sound to hit all 4 buzzers,
And that's how he knows where the ball is.
and then he knows where the ball hit.
It's not haptic on the panel itself,
So he doesn't know where the ball starts. He just knows where it impacts the table each
which
time.
is all you need.
Yeah,
Wow, that's really interesting.
It's
I
really
was
cool.
expecting you to have like a motion sensor above
exactly.
it or something. Yeah.
Like that would be the
radar.
obvious way to do it. No,
It's called Tap Glow.
he did it with like $10 of parts.
That's amazing. So that
It's
means you
really
can add
cool.
it onto your existing. Well, you need a screen though, or a projector.
He has LEDs built into the table. He's going to market the thing.
So how does it affect the play of the game though? Because if it has a screen, then the surface is going to be a little
It's
smoother.
acrylic, and by the edges of the table, the ball bounces like a normal table. He actually did a regulation check. So there's a regulation height. The ball should bounce at a certain, if you drop it from a certain
Okay.
height. And it bounces at the correct height.
But
at
the
the,
surface
at the
friction is
edges,
still going to be
but in the center, there's a little give.
too smooth.
As someone who's played a little bit of table
tennis.
tennis, Jeremy, did
Yeah.
you feel that your spins were reacting
I
to the table?
wasn't spinning too much, but I did notice that you needed to hit it a bit harder if you're aiming towards the center to get it to bounce up. Yeah.
So the physics are maybe a little bit different. And also, when we played it, what we quickly realized that it's more of a, for the spectators' enjoyment because, while the lights are pretty, once you get into a game of ping pong or a rally,
Yeah.
you're not looking at the lights.
No.
I think that's because we didn't know the rules.
Oh, about the mini games,
Yeah,
the custom
exactly,
games of
exactly.
going for blackout and
Yeah, I thought it was just a spectacle to begin with.
yeah.
But it was very cool. That's typical Maker Faire greatness.
It seems like it could be something that you use also for like skill training. Like if you want to learn how to aim your shots under pressure, then
Oh, it's a good point.
You use breakout.
And maybe you get points for
Yeah.
getting in the correct area. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. And I finally met Joseph Prusa, who runs
awesome.
the 3D company, the 3D
Yeah.
printing company out of Prague. I've been using his printers for a year now, and I was able to thank him for the great
That's
work he's
awesome.
done.
You have a Mark III.
I do.
And at Maker Faire, Prusa was showing off their new Mark III multi-material upgrade. Now, Jeremy, you and Sean had built the multi-material upgrade for the Mark II,
Well, the version 1.
version 1,
yeah.
which is four different types of filament
That's right.
and 4 different extruder or 4 motors.
But it's also a Bowden system. So the filament gets extruded by these motors that are far away from the print head.
Right.
Oh, and then you run them through one of those channels.
Exactly, like a multiplexer
Okay, so
kind
the
of thing.
head can be lighter and move faster. Is that
Yes, but the problem is you need to do these like huge 4mm retractions for every time that the filament retracts, and so it does end up affecting the quality of the print.
blobby.
So the new version not only supports 5 filaments, but it's also direct drive, so it feeds it into the standard extruder. So you get the full quality of a Mark III, but with 4 filaments
And only
5.
2 motors.
That's interesting.
Because it's actually moving along.
It's neat.
The axis along like the channels where the filaments are coming in, and then pushing it into the extruder.
Yeah. Then Joe stopped by here
Yeah.
the next day and said he'd love to come back later in the year for some kind of video content. That'd be a lot of
Oh,
fun.
that's awesome.
We're definitely going to do that. Dremel is also there. Dremel showing off their first desktop home use hobbyist laser cutter.
Yeah, they bought a company, right?
Well, they're partnering with Full Spectrum Laser.
Okay.
So Full Spectrum has the Muse laser cutter, which is a tube laser, much like the Glowforge is. I believe a 40-watt tube. And this is the Dremel version of that. So they took the hardware and did their own software, did their own customization, and it will be out later this year. So we have a video of that also coming out soon. They did a really smart thing at Maker Faire, I thought, which was, they obviously they have a 3D printer, they have now a laser cutter, and they have the rotary tools. And they designed a giant booth where people would watch acrylic pieces being cut on the laser cutter. You wait in line, and you get to take this acrylic tag and then take it to a Dremel station and then use the rotary tool to write your name with it on it. Or something.
that's
so like
interesting.
you'd be using different parts from each of their tools to have something to take home. And so
cool.
lots of kids were doing that. What are the things? Sean Thorson was there with some cool armor. He had some new Fallout armor, and
Ed was there too.
and Ed 209. Yep,
Yeah.
Ed 209 was there. So we chatted with them. Oh gosh, there's so many things at Maker Faire.
Did we talk about the foam bubbles, the helium
The
bubbles
helium
on
bubbles,
Still
yeah.
Untitled?
Yeah.
Oh, so those were helium bubbles.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that thing was so cool. Like it was such a well executed, simple thing.
The bubble sculptures.
The bubble sculpture. So they had helium. They had a helium bubble plate, and they were mixing air and helium, so they didn't waste a ton of helium, obviously. And those were forcing the bubbles up through this box, and then there was a form at the top, almost like a Play-Doh Fun Factory type thing, that would shape the bubbles. They would hold their structure because of the bubble mixture they use, and they could cut them with a PVC, and they just float up.
When you say bubbles, this was more like a thick foam. It was
Was
thousands of bubbles.
I mean, it was a very dense bubble matrix, but they held their shape.
Bubble matrix.
They held their well. I mean, when you're in the bubble matrix, you have no idea what's going to happen. They held their shape incredibly well.
Yeah, I just saw them flying around, and I said, "Is that a star?"
It looked like stars and like they had Mario shapes,
Yeah.
stars and
Right.
mushrooms and stuff like that.
Very cool stuff.
We also saw the folks at Looking Glass. They're the people who dream of making holograms. They have like 5 different products. They first started with like an LED cube, like a 4x4, and then an 8x8.
And what's interesting is that each product of theirs is not necessarily an iteration on the last.
No, they're just like, let's find ways to have volumetric imagery.
Yeah.
Right. I think their very first product was like slices of images like cast in resin or something. Here's a static photo that's now in 3D. And recently they've had a lot of. I think they did a crowdfunding campaign for their Hollow Player 1, which is like a Pepper's Ghost style effect. And they showed something new this year that was like a hologram inside a resin block, which is the same technology as the Hollow Player 1, except the viewing area, the volume is itself like a giant block of plastic. And you can see like a video, a 3D character inside of it, and it looked really, really good. So we'll have them come by the office when they're ready to launch that.
Cool.
And chat about that. There's so much more stuff from Maker Faire that we shot videos of. Adam, of course, did his annual Sunday sermon.
Watch it.
It's amazing. And he took a bunch of Q&A, and we'll have that on the site as well. I fell in love with trains, miniature trains, and the folks who were showing off their miniature trains.
They're very cool.
They're super, super cool.
There was an actual coal-powered model train.
Yes.
Oh, there was a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, steam trains, all scratch built, I believe, with all the valves and all the piping and everything.
They
They
had
have
to-
kits.
They had
too.
to import their coal, though, from Wales
Wales.
or somebody.
Yeah.
Because that's the cleanest coal in the world. It's the only one that would work with their system.
Well, as Will quick to point out, there is no such thing. It's clean coal.
Well done, sir.
Sanctioned coal.
Well done.
Sanctioned coal.
I think we all learned something here.
Yeah.
Look, The Last Jedi is a great movie. I'm glad we all agree. Let's move on.
And if you saw some cool stuff at Maker Faire, thanks to everyone who said hi, by the way. We've met a lot of really cool, lot of great fans, and some of you folks out there brought projects like helmets with LED stuff. Like, it looks nice, wearable, cool tech. The thing we didn't talk about in subtitle was the prosthesis. Did you see the giant walking robot? The
Oh,
prosthesis?
yeah.
We talked about it a little bit. I watched it actually run at the end of the day on Saturday and Sunday on their last thing.
They got it running?
Not operating.
I saw it operate on
So-
Sunday.
Operate. I wouldn't call it a run.
They broke a hip flexor.
I saw that.
And then they worked on it all the rest of the day, and they got it back up by like 3:00 on Sunday, and we sat there and watched them like do their exercises basically, and it moved maybe 10 feet, and then it broke the hip flexor again.
Wow.
Yeah.
It lumbered. It lumbered.
It's terrifying.
And it turned. You can.
I was gonna say it is horrifying.
Legit, like my daughter was super into it. She's like, "This is really cool, Dad." And I was like, "This is the fucking scariest thing I've
You
ever
could
seen."
hear how heavy it is.
Like-
But when every time the foot landed on the asphalt.
Yeah.
Well, when they were talking about how it works, because it's all hydraulic, like a direct line from the person who's buckled in all 4 limbs.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking, what if there's blowback on the hydraulics or something, and like, can this just rip his arm off?
No,
if it
no,
goes
no
bad?
feedback. No,
Oh, there's no
no,
feedback.
no.
Okay.
What's the point of having him actually pilot from inside the bot? Why not have it an
Well, 'cause
exterior
he's-
thing so that when the bot dies, he can control a second one?
Because his art project is that he wants to feel the augmentation.
I mean, the goal
The
is to make the
exoskeleton.
Ripley exoskeleton from Aliens.
It's
right?
better spectacle. I get that, but
Yeah.
I just think from a practical standpoint,
It's not. Nothing about it is practical. There is absolutely nothing about it is practical. They don't use any stabilization. It is meant to be difficult to operate because he wants people to learn how to use it. He wants to learn how to
Yeah.
use it.
They want it to have a high
get
skill
good.
ceiling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
he was
wants to
talking
get
about
good
like
at it.
the ultimate running gait being the gorilla gait.
Yeah.
Right.
He talked about that in
Yeah.
our demo too.
But he's standing vertically.
Yeah.
He's not hunched over, so he's kind of moving he's vertical, moving his arms and legs, and then he has to move in a cadence where he can have at least 2 of his feet on the ground at once.
Did you do a video with them?
Yeah.
So the thing I was interested in was how, like, why would they strap him in a vertical orientation if they want to mimic the gorilla gait? Why not have him lay down on his stomach and do it that way?
I talked about that because it's not a perfect gorilla gait. It's actually backwards. The joins on the legs
Yeah.
are reversed, so it's not like crawling on
So
your feet at
they've
all.
designed it to be intentionally difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. It seems like a thing that like you could jam into a neural network and figure out the running algorithm really
Nope.
fast and just like have motors that do that for you. But yeah, here we are.
8,000 pounds of moving mech.
It's really like the gouges that thing put in the parking lot at Maker Faire. Very impressive.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, half hour into the podcast and we're just getting the pop culture. All right, let's go through this relatively quickly.
Speed round.
Last week we talked about The Expanse and Sci-Fi ceasing production or canceling The Expanse, but the production company behind it, Alcon, was looking for new suitors, and they may have found one. Amazon is reportedly interested in distributing season 4 of The Expanse. It's not a done deal yet, so the show isn't quite saved, but there is hope. And just like last week we saw Brooklyn Nine-Nine get saved by NBC, I think Expanse will find a new home on a network because it's a really great show.
Cool. What about the Lego movie? Do I get another one of those?
We do get another Lego movie. It's not going to be directed by the same directors that we talked about with Chris Miller, Phil Lord, but they are writing it. And we have now a poster for the Lego movie, and it is a clever name. It's called Lego Movie 2, the second part.
I think it's good.
Nice. It's kind of adding on so that the logo is, of course, built out of Lego. It's adding on to that aesthetic.
This is the movie that fooled me. I thought it was actually stop motion.
I
Like macro photography.
Yeah, I thought it was like an extraordinarily expensive.
it was an extraordinarily expensive stop motion movie.
It would
Very.
be super, super expensive. So that's coming out, I believe, next year. Lego
Every
Batman was
3
really good.
decades.
Ninjago, not so much.
Ninjago's fine. Ninjago was very much more of a kids movie.
Yeah.
Whereas Lego Movie and Lego Batman were both. I've watched all of these movies a lot at this point.
Yeah.
Like those were very like Lego Batman especially is like a perfect 4-quadrant movie. Like there's something there for everyone, I think.
Nice.
Unless you hate Batman.
Unless you hate Batman. Star Wars Land at Disneyland and Disney World, I guess they're calling it Galaxy's Edge, now has tentative opening seasons dates. It's going to open in Anaheim first next summer, summer 2019.
Yeah, all right.
Which is going to be ahead of the release of Episode 9. I thought they
Wow.
would time it closer to that.
Do you think it's going to be called Episode 9 Galaxy's Edge?
No.
What is episode 9 scheduled for December?
I believe it's scheduled for December.
Okay.
I thought it was May, but
No way.
I think it's May.
I don't know. I thought that after this one they were trying to go back
Yeah, they're
to
trying to summer it up.
May
Episode
schedule.
9 is December 20th, 2019.
Okay.
There you
There we
go.
go.
It's for Christmas.
God, do you even want to go anywhere near Galaxy's Edge for the first couple years?
Unless I get like
It's gonna be
like
so
press
crowded.
access
I want to go to
and,
that
like, a
cool
preview
hotel
day.
where you pay $1 million
That's in
a
Florida.
night.
That's Florida, and
I'll
that's
go to
not going to be for
Florida.
a couple of years.
Oh,
Yeah, and that's going to be super expensive.
look, I'm saving
Maybe
now.
a coupon day.
I mean,
Coupon day.
that's the
Yeah.
Westworld of Star Wars.
They'll have one day a year where they let the pores in.
You can't have sex with the robots though. That's not recommended.
Sorry, 3PO.
Yeah. It's going to be such a big deal.
Yeah.
It'll make so much money. Have either of you ever done the May 4th events at Disneyland?
No.
I think May 4th is kind of a marketing bullshit gimmick.
Not kind of. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of.
100% is.
Well, it started out as a community joke, and then
Right, and now
then
it's
they
co-opted.
co-opted it.
Yeah,
they've
yeah.
ruined it.
I love seeing Fox
like
every
Mother's
year
Day.
try LV426 and try to do that as a day as well.
What month is LV?
No, it's April 20.
Oh,
April.
April 26th.
Yeah.
I
It's
wanna
too
know
close
the-
to the weed day.
I want to know the pro strategy for seeing Galaxy's Edge as early as possible.
You got to be real famous.
What if,
You got to get real famous. You got 2 years, Jeremy.
you got to be in a Star Wars movie.
yeah, be in a Star Wars
You
movie.
got to be in a Star Wars movie.
You can maybe write one.
The best thing to do is get a job at Disneyland that does the night shift for installing new things. Because Disneyland, when it shuts down at 11 p.m. or midnight for guests, after everyone leaves, all the lights come on again,
Yep.
and then the night crew comes in, the gnomes come in, and reset the day. So if you want to see the rides and see the show, get a job at Disneyland doing the night shift.
Or Jeremy, you could be like an Amidala cosplay. Like you could do that and be like their Natalie Portman alike.
Why'd you go to Amidala? What are you doing?
Pick the one. I couldn't pick the character I thought you'd most. Since you
Wow.
didn't like Last Jedi,
Wow.
the
Low,
character
man.
you'd most
Things ain't
kind
dark.
of
right.
you know you'd be into.
You know,
Jar Jar maybe.
it might be an interesting time to go see the rest of Disneyland because everyone's going to be at Star Wars.
Well, it's
No,
one ticket
always
for
gonna be
everything,
packed.
right?
You think?
Yeah.
Everything.
I don't
Like
know.
when Cars Land opened, was the rest of California Adventure empty? I don't.
Yeah,
think
I don't think so. No, there's only so much stuff you can do in Cars Land.
Wait in line for
And is this
several hours.
Yeah, is this going to be like Harry Potter World where it's like a gradual rollout and like only a third of the Harry
Oh
Potter
no,
world
I
is
think they're
open?
going to open the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I'm more excited about, they're going to be the rides, but the tech. Like this is 21st century tech for a land, and we've heard lots of stories about how they're going to implement droids and AI.
And there's a persistence to
and-
your experience of the land. It's not just like the tech of the ride, but your interactions with various aspects of the land
Yeah.
will be persistent.
They want to immerse you in it.
Like you'll have a character that you'll develop.
All I want to know is, can we go on the Millennium Falcon?
Yeah, you
yes,
can pilot
There's
it.
a ride.
No,
They'll put you in the Falcon.
I don't want to sit in some go-kart alike thing. I want to walk up the ramp.
That's what they'll let you do.
I want to climb into the hidden chambers.
No, you can't do that. You
I
can
want to
build-
play Hollow Chess. I want to play some Jarek.
That's VR. You can do that in VR.
I don't know.
Is there a solo VR experience? I don't think there is.
I don't think there is either. Yeah. Last bit for pop culture news. Now, going back to the Watchmen story at the very beginning, HBO has signed a pilot for a Watchmen reboot sequel. We're not sure exactly what it is, but this is led by Damon Lindelof after his huge success with The Leftovers. Great show. Everyone should watch it. And, of course, everyone's up in arms because Watchmen, which was out as a film in 2005, kind of was a big turning point, I think, in superhero films, and not necessarily a success for Warner Brothers or Zack Snyder. And fans have a very difficult relationship with the representation of these characters that they love from the graphic novel, especially with Alan Moore's relationship with, and even Dave Gibbons' relationship with the graphic novel and its portrayal.
Alan Moore has to be not excited about this.
No, he's not. But he doesn't have the rights, unfortunately. So, I mean, even in the comics world, they've done sequels to Watchmen already, right? Jeff Johns and Dave Gibbons have extended the life of these characters. So everyone's wondering, what does this mean for HBO? Like, it's a TV show, which is exciting. It's not just going to be all in 2 hours. It's going to be an extended serialized story. But Damon Lindelof shed some new light onto the direction they're taking on a series of Instagram photos. And this is one of the most Damon Lindelof things he's ever done. This is a letter, a 5-page letter he's written.
Oh, please tell me you didn't just post pictures of the letter.
He did. Just post pictures of the letter. Dear fans of Watchmen, the first 3 pages are prose written in the style of Watchmen, where he jumps back in time to the various points in his life to
I
show
hate this so much.
show how
This
much
is the
Watchmen
worst.
means to him. letters, paragraphs that start with, I am 38. A man offers me the opportunity to adapt Watchmen for television. And jumping back, I am 23 and living in Los Angeles. He basically puts himself in the position of Dr. Manhattan. He has transcended space and time to show his love for the show.
Of course he put himself in the place of Dr. Manhattan.
Of
course.
And then in page 3, he bulks and goes,
God damn it.
And says something like, well, this is of course a ploy. He talks about the death of his father in this. He pulls that heartstring, and then reveals the meat of the letter, which is the direction they're taking in is going to be essentially a in-world reboot. It's not going to be a retelling of the story, the 12-issue series. It's going to be set in modern day. It's not necessarily going to have the same characters, and it's going to be in the post-Watchmen events world with new characters and taking the spirit of what Alan Moore did in deconstructing the superhero genre with the original Watchmen and doing that in today's world. And at that point, I don't think he even needs to call it Watchmen.
Well, it gets people to watch the first episode.
What if it's Damon Lindelof's Watch Space Man?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then they don't have to pay anybody. Dave Gibbons doesn't get paid.
I think Sony owns that.
Oh yeah, probably.
You gotta read this letter if you're a fan of the comic book. If you are if you're a fan of Lost, right? You should read this because it is the most Damon Lindelof thing that David Lindelof has ever Lindelofed.
Lindelof has. So like we met Lindelof. He seemed like a pretty normal dude when we met him.
Yeah.
Media trained for sure.
Totally.
But like
I like him. I like the stuff he's made. I love Lost. I love Leftovers.
You didn't like Leftovers at first though. You were very anti-Leftovers first season.
I never watched it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You watched the first episode. You're like, "Fuck this," and didn't watch it.
I don't know about that. But I binged I binged it recently, and it's a fantastic show. I love his work. I think that his public persona can be divisive. Yeah, as a writer.
Okay.
I liked the movie. I mean, like the movie was some Zack Snyder. Like I understand what it's supposed to look like without understanding what it's supposed to mean. Business, but like it was a decent visual representation of those stories told well.
I had no feelings about Watchmen going into it at all. I never read the graphic novel. Everyone thought I should. I never did. And then they made this movie, and I heard from my friends, this is a movie that can't be made because it would cost too much money.
Yeah.
So that's why I went to see it, and it's a spectacular visual film.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I didn't want to watch it again.
It was so mismarketed. Yeah. I mean, 2005 was right in the big superhero wave, Dark Knight,
X-Men
and
2,
300, and X2 exactly. And when I went to watch, it's a rated R film. First of all, lots of adult themes and elements in that.
Yeah, there's.
I saw kids in that theater, and parents were not happy.
Yeah,
I was glad. Like the thing that was controversial because I remember I went and saw it with Dan Morris, who's a mutual friend of all of ours, and he's a big Watchmen fan from the old days, and he was upset at what they had done to the ending of that. And I actually think the ending of this is much better. The movie is much better than the comic books.
Than the Space Squid?
Yeah, the Space Squid.
Yeah.
It works much better. Anyway.
Yeah, for film.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One last thing, a movie I'm super excited about is the new Men in Black reboot, and they just announced that Liam Neeson was cast in it. He's going to be their boss. It's going to be apparently a British Men in Black.
Okay.
It's Chris
Oh man,
Hemsworth.
they're not doing the thing where 21 Jump Street world overlaps with Men in Black world.
No, not doing that. Yeah, I would have paid to see that too. Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, and the new Rip Torn is going to be Liam Neeson. Very excited for it.
Sounds good.
All right, to tech. All right, let's talk about some cars for a little bit. Two big pieces of car news. Uber has ended its self-driving operation in Arizona.
Yeah, I think that's just this is just today's news. So, as we know, there was a fatal accident in Arizona, and the governor shut them down weeks ago. Said you have to cease operations until you get to the bottom of this. And Uber said we're going to cease operations altogether in Arizona. However,
Arizona was a place where they could get the license to test these cars on certain streets.
Yeah, but they're going to continue once they solve this mystery of how this happened.
Yeah.
They are going to resume testing in our home city of San Francisco.
Whoa!
Good news, everyone.
Yeah.
Look, the stuff that came out in the wake of the fatal accident in Arizona. Like, did you watch the video of that?
The video of the dash
Of
cam?
the dash cam?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the data that came out about their accident rate and their number of like user overrides per mile or per hour driven versus everyone else's that's doing self-driving cars made it really clear. I think that they shouldn't be allowed on the road at the current rate that like they Google was reporting like 10 per 1,000 hours or something, and they were 10 per 16 hours. My numbers are wrong, but their percentage of user interventions, driver interventions versus Google's and the other people that are doing self-driving car tests was astronomical.
You're saying that the driver had to intervene and correct for a computer error.
Yes,
way
more often. And like my fundamental feeling, having driven cars that have like the lane assist and all that kind of stuff, like the barest forms of overrides, I think that like having a partial self-driving car that you have to constantly monitor is way more dangerous than having nothing. Because if the moment you're not paying attention, it's like having somebody who's half paying attention the entire time versus somebody who's fully engaged.
Well, I have heard third hand that is why Tesla has stopped releasing updates to autopilot, because they can do better, but the more people trust it, the more
dangerous it is.
The more dangerous it is. And so then they're not going to release anything more until it is level 5.
Unless they reach the big milestone.
Full autopilot.
Pay the extra $3,000.
Yeah.
Uber also has, they have so much money. They're also on the apology tour. I think Wells Fargo, Facebook, and Uber all have apology campaigns right now.
Well,
on
Wells
TV.
Fargo for defrauding thousands of customers, millions of customers.
Facebook for giving your consumer info to
ruining
third-party
Western
apps.
democracy. Also,
and Uber for their new CEO. Total apology tour. They're also investing in Uber aircraft. Right, like
Great.
Uber helicopter, Uber Air.
If they can't make it work on the ground, let's add a third dimension.
Yeah.
Great idea, guys.
Flying is safer.
They say that by 2024, 2028, they're starting in LA, they'll have tens of thousands of flights by electric helicopter every day.
And
is this a viable solution?
No, this is not this is every bit as real as the Boring Company.
So this is just Silicon Valley bullshit.
I don't even think it's Silicon Valley bullshit. I think it's like MIT, Carnegie Mellon bullshit.
I will take your bet on the Boring Company.
Okay.
Whoa. What about the air? You don't think consumer priced rideable quadcopters or electric aircraft can be a complement to self-driving cars on the ground?
Who in their right mind is going to get in that quadcopter?
Yeah, like if they can't do self-driving cars on the ground, why would I trust them to write the microcontrollers to keep the quadcopter from killing me?
Well, it's a different problem to solve. I'm not saying it's necessarily easier or harder, but you don't have to deal with traffic.
Yeah, that's great. But you do have to deal with is one motor going down and the entire thing flipping over and smashing me into the ground.
I was going to say gravity.
But you don't have to, with cars are a point. Even electric cars are a point. You're not worried about cars breaking down.
Yeah. Remember when we flew that X8 quadcopter and the propeller spun off? Do you remember what happened?
I believe that was user error.
Doesn't matter.
I believe that
somebody has to maintain the quadcopters, the Uber quadcopters.
Yeah, and same thing with airplanes. It's statistically the safest way to travel.
Right. It's going to be some guy that they're paying $20 an hour in Santa Monica who got really jacked up on methamphetamine the night before and forgot
So it depends
to
on the
tighten
pricing.
knot.
You think at scale they can't maintain a fleet and be regulated enough to keep it safe?
I don't get in Ubers when a human's driving them. Why would I get in an Uber quadcopter?
Well, they don't want humans driving them. They want those to be autonomous as well.
Even reason number 6.
Okay, just generally speaking, do you have faith in autonomy? The future
not
of
as of right now.
There are
two
different problems.
Right now.
You're talking about autonomy is one thing, which is the software, and then you're talking about the actual technology behind the mode of transportation, whether it's cars or
yes, I'm talking about getting people who write robotics code for robotics use today, writing human safe code. Mm-hmm. And like, have you ever read about how NASA writes code for the computers on the space station and on the space shuttle, and like the process that they use versus the process that some jackass submitting code to an open source project on GitHub uses? Yeah. I want nothing to do with putting my life in the hands of jackasses writing open source code on GitHub. I'm very skeptical of Tesla, who seems to have taken a pretty good effort, and Google, who's taken a pretty good effort at safety, writing human safe code for something as unstable and fundamentally terrifying as a human
Hitting the gongs for every commit.
quadcopter.
Yeah.
Waymo is supposed to be way ahead of Tesla.
Waymo is way ahead of Tesla.
Yeah.
Because they're doing it on cars that were not designed to be driven by humans at all.
Right. And because they've been working on it for 10 years now, more. I just feel like there's a big difference between writing code for your Roomba
Yep.
and writing code for a car driving on the road, where if it fails, then the worst thing that happens is you hit somebody or you stop on the side of the road, or an airplane where if it fails, then it maybe falls from the sky slowly, or maybe just drops like a stone, or maybe accelerates toward the ground.
Let's get it over with quick.
Yeah.
So
Flip it upside down.
You have a child who's about 6.
Yeah.
You got 10 years before driver's license.
I think there's a real chance she'll never have to learn how to drive a car.
Okay, so you do believe it that it'll happen.
Look,
But
look
give it
at,
time.
Look at the acceleration and what machine learning does now versus 2 years ago versus 10 years ago, and how those applications are uniquely suited to solving problems such as picking out signal from noise when you're driving a car, something like that. I have no doubt that we're going to get there in the next 10 years. The question is,
I think cities have to be redesigned for that to happen.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's going to be in the city here.
I really don't think so.
I'm just talking about cars. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about flight.
No, it's cars too.
Yeah.
I'm talking about cars too.
I think cars are a real solvable problem. I think human quadcopter flight is fundamentally really, really scary. And the systems that we have in place to do that now, like, it's not like you can take a Pixhawk and fucking do a little bit of work on that and make it human safe. It's just not. It's why when I was at Tested, I didn't like linking those videos of assholes strapping a lawn chair onto a giant quadcopter, because that is fundamentally insane and really dangerous.
Just the razor
and
blades.
you are going to die. Yeah.
I think there'll be an option for people who to not have licenses in the future to get around the world. You can do it today. You can
do it right now,
You can do it right now. There are plenty of people who live in cities.
We have friends
who don't have licenses and don't know how to drive because they can get around with ride sharing or public transportation. I don't think it's going to get to a point where that's going to be the default, and that not having a license is going to be the outlier in the next 10 years.
I think if you look at population trends and people moving more toward urban areas, I think that you might be wrong on that, because I think like if you live in a rural area, yeah, you're absolutely correct. If you live in a suburban area, you're probably correct.
Wait,
If
but in
you
the
live
rural
downtown-
area, in the suburban area, that's where the autonomous cars work best.
right now, but yeah, but the place that people, if you look at the expense of owning a car in an urban area where you have to pay for parking, you have to pay for parking on both ends of your commute. It makes much less sense to own a car yourself than it does to Lyft or take the bus or whatever.
Norm had a dream 2 weeks ago that my car was earning me $7,000 a month. Just by
Like self-driving
doing
Lyft?
self-driving
Like,
Lyft.
this is a weird dream. I was like,
The economics
Jeremy's
of that are
car,
bad, but
which
pretty
he's
sweet.
sending his car to Oregon to do ride sharing and making him money.
Jeremy's car is running drugs. You saw the thing about Uber drivers, basically, when you do the math, working out to making minimum wage. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's not like you're going to be an Uber driver and get rich quick. It's one of my favorite things to do when you get in a Lyft or an Uber in another city. Ask them about the economics of driving a Lyft or an Uber, and they're almost always willing to talk about it because it's interesting and something they think about constantly.
From those companies' perspective, if the technology, if they had their way with the tech, they wouldn't need drivers.
Yeah.
The drivers, all they're doing is
building market.
is building market and data and gathering data.
I mean, here's the thing about Uber. Uber is not sustainable at the current business model. They need self-driving cars to work because they won't exist in 20 years if they can't get their self-driving cars.
So will they build
working.
their own cars, you think?
No, they'll pay somebody else to build them for them.
And then they'll just strap on the LiDAR.
They'll have the kit integrated. But yeah. But I mean, I don't have faith in their software to do what they needed to do given the current track record.
Well, speaking of faith in software, some people don't have faith in Tesla. The Model 3, which still no VIN number yet, just got really bad reviews from both Consumer Reports and Edmunds.
And overall reviews?
And
well,
Car and Driver, I think, too.
On various aspects, and we'll go into specifics. Consumer Reports is doing a long-term test, and they're testing various aspects of the car. And there are some fit and finish questions and stuff like that. But the big thing that's getting the headlines is their braking test.
Yeah.
They do a 60 miles to 0 braking test. Brakes obviously need to cool. They do it overnight. They do it under various conditions, and
But on a
their
controlled
results,
track.
Controlled track.
Yeah.
But their results were, one, inconsistent, which was worrisome to them, and two, at worst, pretty bad. From 60 miles an hour to 0 miles an hour, they said 152 feet, which is not only worse in its class for this type of sedan, but also bad compared to even like a pickup truck.
Like my Escape can stop faster than that with the right with new tires and good brakes.
Right. And assuming these were good brakes, new tires. So this story got a lot of press, and then Elon Musk and Tesla came back immediately and said that their tests were completely different. And so it's a matter of, they said. But the bigger thing was that Tesla said that they could fix this problem potentially with just a software update.
Well, so Musk said two things, right? He said that they thought they could fix the problem with the software update.
If there's a problem.
If there's a problem. The thing that Consumer Reports said was that they'd never seen this much variation on a single car before. Which was the worrisome thing. And I think that's what made them think maybe it's a software bug. Made Tesla think it's a software
bug for braking?
Well, it's all software.
Yeah, your brakes are. Do you think are you pulsing your brakes manually, or do you just mash the
crazy.
thing and the computer stops them as fast as it can?
Those pedals are just joysticks.
And Tesla also said that if there was a mechanical physical problem, they would just recall all
fix
the
it.
cars, which would be expensive.
Well, depends on what the fix is.
Why would the braking change overnight? Once it's fully cooled, why wouldn't you be back to a standard?
That's the big question.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, software bug. But if it adds 0.1 to the amount of time that it pulses each time, or if there's, who knows?
My car, apparently, I just looked it up. The Chevy Bolt, 60 to 0, 116 feet.
Yeah.
All right.
That thing's
good.
light though too.
Yeah.
And the other thing with the Model 3 is I think this week Tesla has announced the performance model is now available for sale. So
that's right.
$70,000 for the two motors.
Why would you buy a Model 3 for $70,000 when you can get a Model S for $70,000?
Well,
I mean,
because
it's a different car.
Tesla needs to sell expensive Model 3s in order to keep their
I don't
business alive.
care what Tesla
That's
needs
why
to keep
they
their
would
business
sell one,
alive,
but why would you buy
why
one?
would you buy one?
It's a different car. It's totally different technology. Like
Okay.
it's just
They're
you've
both
been
electric, right?
yeah. But the 3 is like
They have
there's
a big screen on the dashboard.
the 3 has this sense of
4 seats.
like we've said before, like being in a spaceship.
Glass
where
roof.
Everything is controlled by this screen.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. It's
That
all
seems
there.
not great to me. Like turn signals and everything.
No, the turn signals by the
Okay.
things, but
Windshield wipers.
like there's everything. Directing the airflow from your vents. They're opening the glove compartment. Everything.
Really?
Yeah, it's all from that screen.
That's, this
From a
doesn't-
user experience standpoint, that's the thing I'm the most curious about.
right.
Right. Like, does anyone know? Does the Model 3 have ODE port? Like a
ODB?
ODB port?
I think they have to
Onboard
have
diagnostic?
one, but it doesn't necessarily have to give you the information.
ODB ports work differently for electrics than they do for gas cars too. Like your ODB port probably you can't use an automatic
No,
with your ODB port.
no.
because there are a lot of third-party hardware devices that can plug into the onboard diagnostic port, and then you can project your own HUD, for example, on the windshield, so you get your speed and you get your
NavD or whatever,
Exactly, the NavD. And if that's something that could work in the Model 3, then I'd be considered getting that. I consider getting it so that
So you don't have to look over
so I
to
don't
the
have
right.
to look over to my right.
So I know that NavD works on a Model S because I have a friend with a Model S that has a NavD in it. I don't know. And does that use the ODB port or does that use the GPS from your phone?
Good question. Good question.
Has this cooled your interest? I mean, you're close to the top of the list on the Model 3. Are you thinking?
My
are you having
money's
second
already
thoughts?
in. No, no second thoughts.
You put your $1,000 in, you could get back if you
I
wanted.
put an extra $2,500 in.
Oh, you did. You're committed now.
I'm committed. I would incur penalties to back out now.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And our friend Ryan McCaffrey is probably going to get his around the same day as you. It seems like you guys entered.
Yeah.
Pretty
yeah.
close. Same lottery.
Yeah. You,
Yeah. He hosts a big Tesla podcast now. I don't know if you've listened
know,
to that,
I've
but
heard.
he's a big deal.
We'll have more to report once the car gets delivered and if we hear about any other updates. Moving on, a lot of people. Who here? Do you guys subscribe to YouTube Red?
Nope.
No, that's
No?
that's the guy who's not here,
Yeah.
right? Doesn't he do that?
No, he does Google
No, he
YouTube
uses
TV.
YouTube TV.
Oh, TV, right?
Yeah. A lot of people had YouTube Red subscriptions without knowing it because for the longest time, YouTube Red was bundled with Google Play Music.
What?
Yeah.
I had
So
a YouTube Red subscription.
You probably were already using it. Did you see YouTube ads?
No. I just thought my ad blocker was working really well.
Well,
Shit.
they bootstrapped the adoption rate for YouTube Red with Google Play Music. You paid $10 a month, and then you had built-in YouTube Red, and you never saw YouTube ads. And some of that revenue, when you rewatch YouTube video, would get that $10 a month would get sent to whichever YouTube partner or content creator was creating that video.
Yeah.
Well, YouTube believes that they don't need to bootstrap anymore, and they have split that up. So now they're launching something called YouTube Premium, which is $12 a month.
What's Red?
YouTube Red is just YouTube Music, which is $10 a month. Use YouTube Music Premium.
What does that mean?
It means that you get, if you pay $12 a month, you get ad-free video, downloads, and YouTube originals, because they're spending a lot of money on YouTube originals now.
Okay.
And their big first success was the Cobra Kai show. Apparently that's been received very well. I haven't seen it yet.
I watched the first episode.
Was it good?
Are people calling it good? Because it's all right. It's fun to see these guys again.
Does it feel like TV,
It's
or
kitschy.
does it feel like a quote-unquote web show?
It feels like a high. I mean, I'm gonna say it feels like TV, but it doesn't feel.
I think
it's not great TV.
That's the big thing. The feeling of, do you feel like you're getting TV out of this?
Yeah.
I think that there's a big disconnect, especially with people who watch videos on YouTube. They don't want to pay subscription.
Yeah.
And even YouTube has had Patreon style memberships.
Yeah.
They've done paywalled stuff. But it's tough to get an audience, even though it's a massive audience, to change their viewing habits. And commit to paying for content that they expect to get for just ads or for free.
The only thing that Cobra Kai tells me is that my generation is officially dead center bullseye demographic for YouTube Premium.
Well, you're the demographic that's
disposable
not on
income.
YouTube.
Exactly.
And you have money. 'Cause
Yeah.
the younger
Wow.
kids are poor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But is your generation the generation that makes YouTube the place you think about when you want to watch original programming?
No.
I mean, they've marketed this Cobra Kai so much. It's been in your face if you've ever gone to YouTube the past month.
But I want to know. So I didn't know about the Cobra Kai thing until people started talking about it on Twitter or whatever, because I haven't been seeing YouTube ads.
Right.
So yeah, anyway. Well, that's great.
You should watch it. It's got, the good guy and the bad guy from the Karate Kid.
It has Ralph Macchio.
Yeah.
Wow. Does that
Yeah.
Pat Morita?
He died, I think.
Oh. Well, now I'm
Yeah, moment of
sad.
silence.
Yeah, never forget.
Except you
Wax
did.
on, wax off.
Except you did.
Speaking of generations and generations, maybe even coming to an end, Sony has said that the PS4, and this is super ambiguous, the PS4 is beginning of the end of its life cycle.
Well, this is in an investor call. So this is them saying, "Hey guys, we only have a few more years of this generation left. Get ready for the next one."
What does it mean for consumers?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Keep buying games.
Yep. Your PS4,
Shovel that stuff out as fast as you can,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. If you bought a PS4 at launch and you haven't upgraded to a Pro, do you think you got the value in terms of AAA titles and exclusive games?
I mean, God of War's pretty good, I guess.
Wait,
I've
but
heard.
what do you think this means? Why would they announce this before E3 if there wasn't going to be something
I don't
more
think it's gonna be
exciting?
E3.
They're not doing anything new at E3. They're not going to announce anything new at E3.
Okay.
I mean, there may be a box on the stage that says "Get ready," but they don't want to cannibalize their sales of the existing generation.
No,
That's not what this announcement does?
No.
See, that's
This is
the
an
interesting
investor's
thing, right?
announcement.
Like the reporting on this announcement is, well, I guess if you're going to buy a console, save your money
Look.
for 2 years.
If you guys think that that people don't know that Ron Howard directed Solo, they really don't know that Sony said, "Hey, the PlayStation 4 generation's coming to an end."
That's
PS4
true.
came out in 2013.
Good point.
It's 5 years
Yeah.
going.
It's a 10-year product, right?
Probably. The last one
Probably
was.
be like an 8-year product.
Well, it's gonna be a 10-year product because they'll keep releasing
Oh,
Call
sorry.
of Duty and
You're right,
Madden
you're right.
and stuff like
I
that.
think
after
the
new one comes out.
new one will come out
Yeah.
in 2 to 3 years.
That's the way it always works.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think this means anything for all intents and purposes. And it also, did they say that did they give us a hint of what the next PlayStation? They didn't say it's not going to be like a Pro.
Yeah. I don't think it'll be a Pro.
I mean,
think
presumably it'll be a 4K machine, 4K HDR native.
What is a next generation, not a 4? What does the PS5 have to have, aside from content, of course, from a
Right.
technology standpoint, to make it interesting?
That's obvious.
right.
VR. Native.
I don't think that's
Right.
true.
VR out of the box.
You already have 4K HDR in PS4 Pro. Let's say it's bump all the baseline specs up, right? So you can even more horsepower, more RAM, more graphics memory. But is that it?
You think it's an Oculus Go
What?
standalone headset with a gamepad and two
PSVR
hands?
is superior to Oculus Go.
I'm
in
just
many
saying.
ways.
Do you think PS5 is just a standalone?
So you think
VR
tracking?
headset?
Oh, you mean like a Switch, but like
Yeah.
VR?
Yeah.
No way. I think they're in the business
Yeah,
of
no.
making high-end headsets for your TVs or high-end consoles,
High-end
for,
consoles for your TVs.
TVs.
Yeah, I agree.
Microsoft had that opportunity with the Kinect and Xbox One. Everyone called that a debacle, and that's why the Kinect is no longer required. And PS4 did not launch with the eye cameras as a required, but PSVR needs it, so they were able to band-aid that and still make PSVR a relative success, especially on the console scene. If VR has to be a big part of PS5, you'll need the camera again. It'll be expensive.
So the thing I'm gonna suggest is that it's in Sony's best interest, since they have the platform that is the lead, the big seller, and that people are buying third-party games on. It's in Sony's best interest to keep that love going with a PS4 Pro or PS5 that's just a souped-up PS4. Whether they do that or not remains to be seen.
You only need the camera if you use the same technology. If they're going inside out like everybody else.
Yeah.
Right. All right.
I mean, going inside out is the smart thing to do at this point. I think we can all agree on that.
Yep. Saves you extra cameras. And
It's
just
much
a
easier to
software
set
problem.
up. It means you plug the mixed reality stuff. You plug in 2 cables and you're up.
Bam.
Yeah.
Lots of speculation. Have you guys seen the new Lego sets? So last week talked about the Lego roller coaster, I believe.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You seen this?
I haven't seen it.
It's a beautiful set. But I was mistaken. The roller coaster does not come with the motor. It is hand wound, but you can get the coaster up to the top, and then it will do the full.
It does run the track
It runs the full track.
as a roller coaster would.
Yep.
That's cool.
There were a couple of
Except the
roller
elevation.
coasters in the Lego user group section at Maker Faire this weekend that were just absolutely beautiful. Really, really nicely done. And same thing. They had motors that would ride them up at the top of the track, and then they'd ride all the way down.
So they have a new
That's really pretty.
platform that will add the motor capability, and it's called Lego Powered Up, which is different than Lego Boost and different than their Mindstorms, different than Technic. This is a new system to allow some existing sets and some new sets to have some power and some motor ability. The first one's going to launch is going to be a app-controlled Batmobile, so you can actually steer it. Ooh. And you will have some light coating for changing performance. And that's going to launch in August 1st for $100. Ooh.
I would not even have recognized that as a Batmobile, but okay.
It's the Tumbler,
It's
I
like
guess.
the Tumblr-ish.
I'm with you now. Yep.
Yeah. Building in more electronics. Big fan of Lego doing that.
Me too.
Like if they can find a way to bridge the what's their Mindstorms with the more traditional Lego sets, I think that's a good thing.
Well, I think what they're finding is that when people build the sets, they're keeping the sets stayed together, right?
My daughter
they're not
does both,
disassembling,
yeah.
Which I know is the antithesis of the meaning behind the Lego movie, but it's what people are doing now. They're building, ships. They're building statues. They're building things to just keep in themselves, and so. Other than putting it on your shelf, you could also then add a motor and add some lights and make a nice display piece.
My sister-in-law now, when she goes to a new city, she buys something from the architecture kit and builds that. And rather than getting a snow globe or a tchotchke from the place she went, like she has a Burj Dubai from when she went to Dubai.
They make that?
Yeah,
How about that?
pretty good.
All right, let's switch gears to talk about phones for a little bit and get through these phones real quick.
Do it.
We have an estimate for how much is the ban on the export ban on ZTE is going to cost that company. ZTE is a Chinese smartphone company that, because of new bans, they can't import Qualcomm chips, and they had to effectively shut down their smartphone operation. And it's said that they will probably lose at least $3 billion. Yeah, and they have a workforce that's just at a standstill right now. Idle factories.
So why can they not buy Qualcomm chips?
Politics.
Is this part of the tariff thing, the trade war?
Yeah, part of the trade war.
Good, nice job.
Yep. Which is kind of
I
terrifying.
thought we couldn't import them because they were worried, since they were owned by they worried that there was like spyware baked in. This is a Chinese national company.
Maybe that's part of it.
Okay.
It's all very political.
I mean, if that's a concern, there's a worry that since all of our electronics are manufactured in Asia, in China specifically, like who's to say that all of our stuff isn't compromised from the moment it leaves the factory?
as in a subplot of
Not me.
Silicon Valley.
I am not to say that. I rely on 4chan and Reddit for that kind of thing. Like
Okay.
the real nerds.
Well, no, but I mean, like for a long time, the NSA and were using Cisco routers to spy on places.
Yes.
By injecting their own custom firmwares and routers that were going to specific places.
Yeah. That's hard to detect.
Yeah, it's hard to detect.
Well, maybe if you don't want to buy a ZTE phone and you don't want to buy like a OnePlus 6, you could invest $1,200 to pre-order the Red Hydrogen 1. Red cameras, this smartphone.
They're finally doing it.
It's finally coming out.
All right.
AT&T and Verizon, and you can pre-order. It will ship sometime this summer.
Nothing smarter than pre-ordering a new phone from a manufacturer you've never made phones before.
Wasn't this
That's
phone
right.
supposed to have an interesting display?
It's supposed to have two big pieces of technology. One is this, what they're calling a 4V display. Not necessarily, they said not lenticular.
Right.
And there are now more hands-ons. They had some influencers, and The Verge went to check it out. No photos of the screen. They were not allowed. But their impressions were that it had a very effective 3D look. That the images did not necessarily pop out over the screen, but were maybe look like they were recessed into the screen.
Got it.
And it worked at multiple angles and were better than what you'd see with like the 3DS.
Okay.
I'm still hugely skeptical until we get to see this in person. I also don't believe that's going to be something of real value to this.
Because it requires custom software.
And cameras, right? Like, unless you're talking about a network of thousands and thousands of people with this phone, and then they have the stereo cameras to film in 3D, and then to see a 3D FaceTime equivalent, it's not going to be really that useful. The bigger thing, because Red is a camera company, is the modular attachments. And the back of the phone has this pogo pin adapter that lets you attach a huge accessory, essentially a giant camera sensor to the back of it, and then you can mount on like a DSLR lens.
Like actually a DSLR lens?
Like actually
What?
a DSLR
That's crazy.
lens.
That sounds pretty good.
So essentially, the phone becomes a viewfinder, and the computational processor for a sensor. You still have to buy the sensor. That mount's going to be expensive in itself.
Yeah.
And then if you have a lot of lenses, then you could use that.
You know
Sony's
what'd be cool?
experimented with that.
Oh, so
before.
Yeah, like that Sony mirrorless thing with no body is interesting,
And that-
but was kind of flawed, right?
And that did what over Wi-Fi,
Wi-Fi or Bluetooth.
or Bluetooth to your phone. Here's a direct hard connection, so you're using more of direct processing and also no latency for the viewfinder.
You get
And
a real viewfinder.
It doesn't use the camera on the phone at all.
At all. No.
It's just a viewfinder
Only using the brains
and
and
a
the
controller.
Screen.
Yeah.
So
So
basically the brains and the screen of the phone.
How long before Steven Soderbergh shoots an entire film using a red camera phone? Red
But
camera phone.
at that point, you're just using the red sensor,
yeah.
and you're just using your whatever lens you have,
Uh-huh.
and all the phone is the part of the camera that people don't usually talk about, which is the screen and the processor.
Norm, it's a stunt.
$1,200.
If you put two of these sensors on, can you shoot 3D?
Probably.
Get two
Imagine
big,
you're holding,
like 24
you're
primes.
holding your giant phone like this and being weighed down by the lens.
Right, two.
Yeah,
two. You put
or
two 24.
lenses, yeah.
Yeah, 24 mil
Ergonomically,
primes.
this also does
Seems
not
great.
sound great.
You put on a shoulder rig and you're fine.
There are ridges on the side of the phone, so it's for better gripping.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
What happens if you drop it? Does it explode?
probably.
Serious question though. Like I would expect Red to make a pretty sturdy phone compared to say Apple
sure.
with its glass backs or,
Sure.
or Google or whoever.
And for people who are filmmaking on the fly, the thing that takes a long time is transferring the footage to a device to review. Right? Yeah. And so if you have a phone with a big screen, a nice screen, and you're just filming on the go and you trust the sensors, and they make great sensors, and you trust the lenses because it's your own lenses, you could filmmake and you can review the footage and you can play it back all without having to navigate essentially a camera UI or have an ingestion into some type of a video village.
So that means the card wrangler then is off the table. That guy's out of work.
Yeah, everything's just stored on a memory card, and also it's previewed on your phone.
Okay.
It's time to hit Turbo Boost, guys.
All right, new Apple phones this holiday.
Sure.
The latest rumor is that the chips that will go into the next phones are going to be on a 7-nanometer design.
That's unprecedented.
Intel just moved to 10 nanometers.
Finally.
Much delayed.
After 14 to 10, and that's not even on their high-end chips.
Yeah.
They're just, and so TSMC. The report is that Apple will be going to on the A12 chip, a 7-millimeter design, which means much more power efficiency or just faster processing, lower heat, and all around good news for mobile chipsets.
Yes.
Very exciting for that. If you had a battery problem on your iPhone 6, Apple is still running through the end of this year a battery replacement program, I believe, for $50. But if you had to have your battery replaced before this year, before they announced that program, you can get a refund on your out of warranty repair.
That's nice. So that seems as it should be.
As it should be.
Are they going to do repairs for things like Apple Watches and iPads that the batteries have gone bad and they're now slow?
They do. Well, if they expand on the Apple Watch and they actually break open the case, then they will do replacements.
But what if the battery just makes the device slow?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And then did you guys see the new Samsung campaign launched like 5 days ago? It is brazen.
Oh my.
It's a woman who has an iPhone and she's talking with her mother, I believe.
Yep.
And she's trying to like check into an airport. She's trying to use her phone on the airplane, and she has tons of problems and she needs to upgrade. And obviously they compare her experience to someone with a Samsung Galaxy S9. But this woman has very clearly an iPhone 6. It's even like the mom's like, "Did you upgrade your iPhone 6 yet?" And then they get to a point where she goes into an Apple store in this commercial. Yeah. She's like, she can't call her Uber. Their phone's dead. The battery life is dead. The screen isn't responsive.
She's crying at one point.
She's crying. She goes into an Apple store, and they have an Apple employee or an actor playing Apple, a genius, say in a very monotone voice, like, yeah, you could also throttle your phone. And then she says, like, but that decreases performance. And then she walks by someone with the notch haircut and decides to upgrade to a Galaxy S9. Wow. It is brazen. It is on the nose.
Samsung's lost its chill.
Yeah.
I saw the Note 8 recently, and I did the old, ooh, what's that phone? Like the way that the screen curves a little bit around the edges. It's cool.
I don't like that edge curve.
I don't know how practical it is, but it caught my eye.
Yeah. Last week, after we recorded the podcast, Valve released Steam Link for iOS and Android. So if you have any Android device, tablet, or phone, you can download Steam Link and then stream from your PC to your phone.
So is that out?
It's out.
It's out for Android. It's not out for iOS.
I heard it was out in beta for Android. I haven't heard iOS yet.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be, but I don't know. It seems like a great idea. You gonna try it?
Yeah, I use my Steam Links a lot. I have 2 of them. I think they're awesome.
Yeah.
Use one of them
And this
in the bedroom.
lets you not need to have that device.
Yeah, I can just lay in bed. What I need is a good iOS controller that hooks the phone.
A wired controller.
Well, the Steam
no, not a wired one.
Steam Link works with the Steam controller.
I don't ever want to use the Steam controller again, Jeremy.
Okay. It also can work with like a Xbox X controller.
On my iPhone?
You got to get the new one that supports Bluetooth, just like the Go.
On my phone?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, I think so.
Will it work with a PS4 controller?
Oh, that I don't know.
They're Bluetooth. Elon Musk went full fake news this morning. He accused the media of being increasingly irrelevant because nobody believes them, and says that they're the reason Trump got elected.
Wait, who is this?
Elon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
About 20 minutes ago. Here's the quote. "The holier-than-thou hypocrisy of big media companies who lay claim to the truth but publish only enough to sugarcoat the lie is why the public no longer respects them." And then he responds to somebody else who says, "Thought you'd say that. Anyone who criticizes the media shrieks, you're just like Trump. Why do you think he got elected in the first place? Because no one believes you anymore. You lost your credibility a long time ago." That is not okay, Elon.
All right, I'm going to skip through a bunch of rest of these. I have some recommendations. Cables. I'm going to talk about cables for a second. Belkin has new cable if you have an iOS device, a iPhone without a 3.5 millimeter jack. This is now a cable that's a Lightning
really expensive,
to 3.5 millimeter male cable. Lightning. So Apple includes the Lightning to females. You can plug your headphones in. Yeah. This is Lightning to male, so you can plug into car stereo.
So it has the logic, and it's real thin?
I don't know if it has the logic, but it does. Yeah, I guess it converts digital to analog. It's
definitely.
It has to have some digital analog converter in there. I just bought those Anker Bluetooth USB headphone jack dongles everywhere, and they work great.
Yep. And then the other recommendation for cable is basically MagSafe for USB cables. It's USB you plug into your wall wart on one side, and then whereas the other side you would have a micro USB 2.0, which I hate that, or even Lightning. That part is removable with a magnetic connection.
And you just have a nub that goes into the phone?
A little nub that goes in your phone or whatever device, and then you could snap in with magnets for data and power. I use it with the Oculus Go.
Is it full speed for data?
Full speed for 2.0.
Okay.
For data, which is Lightning and 2.0 right now.
I find that the Oculus Go battery is real hinky.
It doesn't turn off. It doesn't. It
Yeah.
doesn't. It
You
doesn't
have
go
to turn it
sleep.
off.
It doesn't. I think it goes to sleep if you don't use it.
Yeah.
But it's the
If the strap is
motion
like
sensor-
back, it picks up it as your face.
the proximity sensor is
And it
very
stays
sensitive.
on.
And
Yeah.
Bluetooth. It's always connected to Bluetooth because your phone knows if it's nearby.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you know how to turn it off. You hold the button, but you have to be in VR to turn it off.
that's dumb.
Yeah.
That Belkin cable is $30 for a 3-foot. That is a very expensive cable.
Very
It's
expensive.
dumb. You just use the Apple thing with a male-to-male extender. Works
that,
fine.
That also works.
I've completely stopped plugging my phone in. Like I have pads on my desk and in my nightstand, and it just stays
you're doing
charged all
the
time.
wireless charging.
Always wireless.
Wow.
Always be wireless charging.
All right. Can't wait for those AirPads, whatever they're called.
I don't care. I bought a $20 one from Amazon and it works great.
Fast? Fast enough. Overnight. Doesn't matter.
It sits on my desk all day. It stays 100%
Yeah.
the whole time. I wonder if I'm destroying the battery, but the phone lasts 2 years.
I
so
want
who
that in my
cares?
car.
I
want
they
one
sell
that
them in the car.
Slots into the car where you just rest it on the pad and not ever have to plug your phone
What
in.
I want is a magnetic. I want the phone to have a metal plate in it so that we can get a magnetic grip that holds.
Yeah.
Because the ones that you stick on are not very good.
No. Before we move on to our next segment, I want to thank the other sponsor of this week's episode, and that is Radius from Thermacell, the world's first rechargeable zone mosquito repellent, because it's summertime. With the Radius Repeller, you can stop mosquitoes in flight, not on your skin, so you don't have to bother with messy, smelly, and oily sprays. The compact Radius Repeller creates a 110-square-foot mosquito protection zone and uses heat to disperse a highly effective scent-free repellent. It's push-button simple, and it has a rechargeable battery and a repellent cartridge that offers up to 40 hours of protection. You can use it anywhere in your backyard, at a campsite, on a picnic, or on your vacation, and it comes with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Discover for yourself why Thermacell's mosquito repellers are the highest-rated zone mosquito repellents. And it is summertime, so if you live in an area with a lot of mosquitoes, it might be worth using for your barbecue. Now, if you go to thermacell.com, you can use the offer code TEST to save 20% off now. Again, thermacell.com with the offer code TEST to save 20% on your Radius Repeller, and thank them for sponsoring this week's episode.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
All right. No new product news to talk about, but lots of interesting future VR tech.
I missed this. You see something about the varifocal display timeline.
Yeah, so I guess Display Week, or there's a big display event going on, and it's where Google and LG showed off their big 1443 PPI OLED display made for VR headsets. You put two of those. That's for 4.3 inches, so you have one of those for each of your eyes. Incredibly high PPI. They had teased that a while ago, and now they have unveiled it. Display Week 2018 Expo is the name of the event. Oh, I can't wait to see this in person. But also, I believe at that event, there was a panel about technology in VR display technology, and it indicates that the inference there was that Oculus had been working on varifocal displays for even before the CV1
That's interesting.
was released.
I wouldn't think
Doesn't
of it.
surprise me.
I can't wait to try this. And we saw a demo from F8. You saw this, right? Where, with the display moving,
Yeah.
closer and further away from your eyes really quickly based on where you were looking and eye tracking. I can't wait to see this, but I wouldn't assume that this would have been one of their top priorities because I don't think people consciously are aware of this, of the fact that their eyes are focused at
the convergence
2 meters
combination
or
problem.
whatever it is. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't necessarily cause discomfort. But I wonder if it's the kind of thing that once you experience varifocal, you can't go back.
I mean, I wonder if it's a side effect of doing eye tracking because you have to have eye tracking for varifocal to work,
Right.
presumably.
Yep.
So I wonder if like they as they were figuring out, hey, we can do eye tracking, how we can do eye tracking inside the headset. They're like, oh, this is a thing that we get. Maybe with the moving lenses, maybe not for free, but if they can do it with software only, then that seems like the kind of thing you would that would be an easy win early on.
So Douglas Landman, who works at Facebook Reality Labs, did this presentation, and that's where they showed an image of their first prototype from 3.5 years ago, which lets me believe more so that Michael Abrash's speech about technology in 5 years.
Was informed
for sure.
Well, since his group is the one that's determining what's happening in 5 years, I would assume it would be informed.
But what he had put out to the public was maybe closely correlated with what we may be seeing.
What an amazing coincidence.
What an amazing coincidence indeed. But there's an interesting chart about different focus supporting displays and the benefits, the pros and cons of each of those. And if you look at the line for a varifocal, you get a lot of benefits: high resolution, wide FOV, big eye box. And one of the cons is that not only do you need adaptive optics, which is a mechanical solution for changing the lenses in relation to the lens, you also need eye tracking, which is not something they explicitly said was part of the varifocal display. I had made the assumption that for varifocal, you would use software to infer where the virtual object was relative to your eyes and then change the focus on that. But this tells us that if in order for Oculus to ship something with varifocal displays, they're going to need eye tracking. So eye tracking maybe will be in the next version. In
eye
CV2.
tracking seems like an easier problem to me than varifocal, so that doesn't surprise me.
Well, eye tracking to a certain extent. Eye tracking for foveated rendering, not so much, but eye tracking for...
Have you explained what varifocal is?
Yes, we did the last week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, which is it's the idea that the relationship between the lens and display, that distance can shift so you can focus your eyes on something closer than infinity or closer than the 10 feet away or so. So when you have near field objects, where a lot of the most interesting stuff in VR happens in that near field
stuff that's in your hand,
0 to 5 feet away from you, you can shift your focus onto that, and the lenses will move as your eyes actually shift, and so that will actually change in focus.
It means things like gun sights will work better, and the ability to pick up a piece of paper and read it will be legible in the same way that it is in the real world.
Now, I don't think that they're not going to change the render. They're not going to render everything flat and then use optics to change your depth of field. I think they're still going to blur out things in the background based on software.
Actually, that's an interesting question. I
Right.
wonder.
Do you think it's cheaper? Computationally, it's cheaper to render everything
No, it's
flat?
cheaper. It's cheaper to blur it out.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
That's a pixel shader that runs at the end of the pipeline. It's easy.
That's interesting, though. But people will say, like, they just listen to you say that, and they'll say, but things come within 2 meters all the time in VR.
Yeah.
But it's different because there's two ways to focus on things. There's one with this where convergence, where your eyes cross and they get narrower, and they look at something that's closer. But there's also the lens of your eyes that refocus on the object based on distance.
Right.
And currently VR can only do convergence. It can't do this
Accommodation.
Right. I mean,
Accommodation.
my guess is, and this is a completely uninformed opinion, but my guess is that this is one of those things that adds eye strain that people don't notice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Except for cumulatively.
Yeah. And it should be much more realistic.
Yeah.
I can't wait to try one of these. SteamVR, last week, Valve added Steamvr Input.
This is a really good thing.
This is a software API that allows you to program and map your VR input controllers, in this case, the Vive wands, and all those buttons to essentially anything. It's much like what they did when the Steam controller first came out and let you map and program your own input to map those to keyboards. You can now do that with your Vive controllers.
So what's the use case for this?
So the use case for this is that if you have a game like the Foo Show, perhaps, that supports both the Vive, the Oculus, and the Windows Mixed Reality headsets, and you want to support all of those without necessarily having to manually build single use cases for each of them, you now have an API that you can write against that will let you say, okay, the primary button does this, the secondary button does this, the tertiary button does this. Here's what you use the trackpad or analog input for. Here's what you use the trigger for.
You can't do that currently?
Right now you have to build, in the old days you had to say, for example, you had no way, like if you wanted to put a representation of the Oculus controller and the Vive controller in, you had to manually point the labels for those controllers at the right buttons, stuff like that. So, for example, if the trigger on the Oculus is what you use to pick up the trigger, the trigger on the Vive is what you use to pick up, the grip button on the Oculus is what you use to pick up, you would have to say, okay, here's what we use these buttons for on the Oculus controller. Here's what we use them for on the Vive controller, and you build manually set that stuff up for each one. It's why lots of stuff doesn't support Windows Mixed Reality headsets out of the gate, is because the game doesn't know what to do with the inputs, and if the defaults, for example, Rec Room, are bad, then or they interfere with like the button that pops up the Steam menu, the game just won't work.
Okay.
So this not only lets developers have a more general primary, tertiary, secondary, whatever button. Here's what we use the buttons for. It also lets the users manually reconfigure it, not in the game, but at a system level.
Lower level, yeah.
So that if like when I was playing Rec Room on the mixed reality controllers, I was trying to use the thumbsticks to teleport.
And now you can.
Which doesn't work
Yeah.
because the Steam VR menu pops up when you hit the thumbsticks on the mixed reality headsets. Now you'll be able to reconfigure that yourself.
Cool.
Yeah, it's very good. Can we talk about that Xbox adaptive controller?
I was thinking the same thing.
All right.
yeah, because it's a very similar situation.
Yes.
Microsoft did an amazing thing. They worked on it for like 3 years. It's a controller for people with limited mobility, and it's something that previously people have done at like homebrew solutions that are very similar to like prop recreation work. Like people would build a run of a controller input device that then like you used for your pinball table, but people will use them to do like different kinds of joysticks and blow tubes and foot controllers and all of these. There's a massive array of potential input devices for people with different limitations. And Microsoft built a universal controller that has like 16 or 18 or something manual inputs on the back, so that you can use it with these big touchpads, but you can also plug in all the different things that your specific situation requires. And it's supported really well in Windows. It's supported on the Xbox.
It probably looks like an Xbox controller.
It
right?
doesn't. It's a big pad.
No,
it shows up like an Xbox
to the
controller
computer.
to the game.
So there's no support required. It just works.
Well, I mean, people had built homebrew solutions for that stuff before that used the Xbox 360 interfaces and stuff like that, but they're really expensive. This thing is, I think, $100. You can like do an amazing amount of stuff where they worked with the Able Gamers people for 2+ years in secret to make it happen, and it is an absolutely incredible device, and it's so cool that Microsoft, the big company, like this is they're not going to make money on these things. It's a tiny percentage of people that are going to use them for the potential player base, but that they went out and did it is really rad, and I'm like mad props to them for doing the work.
I know that it's for accessibility and that's going to serve a purpose there, but this is going to be used by makers as well in order to make crazy interfaces to computers that just work out of the box.
Yeah, and that you don't have to buy a piece of often hard to find hardware in order to make it happen, and you're not dependent on like getting in at the right time for the run or whatever. So yeah, it's really cool.
Speaking of controllers, and back to VR, one of the complaints we've had about 6DoF headsets and even 3DoF headsets is controller is also 3 degrees of freedom. Even in the Lenovo Mirage Solo, which has 6 degrees of tracking for the head for comfort, the controller itself is still rotational only with IMUs, like what you'd find on your phones. Google, in one of the research projects, says that's okay because as they are developing inside-out tracking technology, they may be able to give your controller 6 degrees of tracking, even if the controller itself is 3 degrees only. And that's because they know how your hand is holding it, and they can see your hand imagery and do some skeletal modeling of your hand and give you 6 degrees of tracking.
They're going to infer your 6 degrees of tracking in a more casual way than the mixed reality headsets do with the big
they're
halo.
letting the IMU on the controller augment hand tracking.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Which
more data is better.
Absolutely. Which is, the end goal is good hand tracking, period, which Leapmotion is working toward with its IR-based system. But the optical-based system that Daydream uses right now and what Google is experimenting with VR, they want to get to hand tracking and hand presence. But if you have a controller, even a 3DoF controller, they want to let that be your space laser pointer or space gun in the future. So
great.
Hopefully that will be a software update. This is just a research project that they've published, but gives some hope for people who have invested in some of those headsets today to have some positional tracking and real hand presence in the future. Last but not least, we're going to talk about some software. We are, 1 week away now from the release of Budget Cuts. Heads up.
Can you believe it?
I'm very excited.
I
saw it at GDC. I can't wait.
Have you been looking forward to a VR title, any VR title, longer than Budget Cuts? No, because everything else is out. Or you haven't been waiting that long. Like, Budget Cuts goes way back.
Yeah, Budget Cuts launched with the Vive, right? That demo launched with the Vive.
Yes, I think I played it before the Vive was even out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is.
Yeah, it was
fun.
you're right. It was one of those things on the when you got the key code that came with the pre. it unlocked budget cuts and
Yeah.
tilt brush and like 3 other things. That's amazing.
Yeah. But before budget cuts comes out, we'll be probably playing the new Rec Room update. Rec Room's going full royale. A Rec Room battle royale.
Worlds colliding.
Is this going to happen on the football
Version.
field? Like, where in the school is this going to take place? That's what I want to know.
Look, it's in a forest. I don't know. Maybe it's the backyard.
All I know is I want to get out there and get. Do you get chicken dinner? You think?
It's a 16-player battle royale.
That
So
doesn't seem that royale to me. That's like a mini royale.
hey, you get what you get.
Is it 1v1v1 or are there teams? Can we squad up?
It is in alpha this weekend.
Is
We'll find out.
is all of my Murder Island experience going to come to bear?
I don't
Probably
see
not.
squatting up being a factor with 16 players. Do you?
Yeah.
I would.
I
I,
think
mean,
it's-
4v like we do war mode on my PUBG streams with 4v4v4 all the time. It's very fun.
Great. Hey, maybe so.
Yeah.
And the big question is whether it's going to be teleportation only, or whether we'll have smooth locomotion.
no.
Because that's a big complaint
If
that
they
people
do smooth
have.
locomotion, I want nothing to do with it. I think.
No, the people want smooth locomotion because the teleportation. Now, the teleportation-based combat in Rec Room allows more strategy, I think, because but then it becomes just a jumping match.
Well,
Jumping,
so-
shoot, jump, shoot, jump, shoot.
So in
shoot
the-
them when they're paused.
But in the quests, it's like kind of find your position, set up, and like during a combat encounter, you don't move around too
But
much.
that's not PvP.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Is I'm interested to see how this works.
I believe it does support smooth. I believe I read that in a Reddit thread that it will support smooth locomotion as their engine does now, as of like a month ago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's an option.
So you can glide around, and
I find the gliding makes me uncomfortable in a relatively short period of time.
You're the guy who played like DK1.
I
Team
played
Fortress 2.
Alien
Fortress 2,
Isolation,
which is all
and it made me
gliding.
uncomfortable.
Oh, I always thought you were immune to that.
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe the more time I spend, the worse it gets. I don't know.
well, that does it this week for the episode. Anyone been testing anything?
I've been using the Oculus Go a lot,
Yeah,
more
it's
than I
true.
expected.
I think that's the general consensus, more because it's so convenient.
I've watched.
That's it.
It's like, do you want to plug anything in and launch anything, or do you want to just put on a headset and start watching a movie?
Like I have watched almost all of that Lost in Space Netflix thing on the Oculus Go, laying in bed at night.
I've been enjoying that. I'm on episode 3 now.
Yeah, it's the only thing that's a bummer is the battery life is real bad.
Yes. I've been testing, again, back to Joseph Prusa, who we met at Maker Faire. He gave me kindly one of the new platforms. The
Build platforms.
Flexible build platforms with the sprayed-on adhesive, right? That's a PEI built into the powder coat.
Ooh.
That's sprayed on. They've been trying to perfect this for literally years now.
So you pop it off and you flex it and it just pops off?
Well, like they what they ship with the MK3 because they couldn't get this ready in time is a adhesive PEI sheet, which is just like what they put on their old MK2 build platforms. But it's removable, it's flexible, so it's awesome. But it's not built in. Like the adhesive will eventually delaminate. This powder coat, hypothetically lasts quite a long time, and it has a few advantages. Like the amazing thing is once it cools, the object is loose.
Oh wow.
Like I could blow it and it'll move. It's odd, because you want it to be nice and
but it's
sticky
it's,
while it's
as long as
printing.
the heated bed is on, it's hot.
Yeah, it works
Wow,
great. So
really
that's the weird thing. You also get this nice texture to it, which hides the print lines. So I'm still testing it, but it's a really interesting innovation.
cool. I've been using my Glowforge a lot. I made Mother's Day cards and gifts on it
That's good
for the
idea.
mothers in my life.
I like that
It
idea.
was very good. Very, very big hits.
Very cool.
What about the Food Show? What's coming up on the Food Show?
So there's
a new episode out.
We do have a new episode.
No
out.
way.
It's funny you say that. It features two of the people in this room right now. Sorry, Jeremy.
Oh.
We didn't actually steal your likeness and put you in, but yeah, we made an amalgamation of Adam's Cave, the place we record Still Untitled every week, and we talked about some of his favorite props and collected props. So the Apollo suit, the Captain America shield, the Blade Runner blaster, a Maltese Falcon, not actually his Maltese Falcon because Norm and I scanned the wrong one. A bunch of other stuff. Sue, the T-Rex head that's hanging above his pool table.
Yeah.
All of these things and more are featured in there. Akbar, the Akbar head.
So if I download Foo and load up this episode
Yes.
in VR, can I
Yes.
hold these things?
Yes, you can. And you know what? There's a bug. We left a bug in. There's a bug that's good. So the hand props disappear when you drop them, as they should.
Yeah.
The helmets just keep staying around more and more. So you can fill the room with helmets if you want. At some point, we'll probably fix that. But I thought it was really funny and I enjoyed it. The Akbar head, the Lego Fleshman, Some of the other helmets that Adam's built over the years are in there. It's a lot of fun, and we had a nice talk about making and the politics of making.
Did you talk about how you remade his cave?
We talked about all that stuff. Yeah, we talked about how the 3D scanning works.
Nice.
How like some of the things were done with photogrammetry, some were laser scanned. We talk about where the laser scanning doesn't work, like on the Apollo suit bubble dome. The laser just doesn't know what to do with the glass there, and it made an interesting mess. So we left it so people could see.
One final thing for listeners in Europe, I'd love to hear your experiences with GDPR. So Europe now has general data protection regulation. So people who
it's not
spam
live
you,
yet.
The emails are starting to come out soon.
So it takes effect in June, around the 20th, I think.
But advertisers and other people are sending out these emails now. If you sign up for a newsletter and you found it difficult to opt out, they now have to force you to opt in or require that you opt in for you to continue getting them. So you may be getting a lot fewer spam emails than before, and companies are finding creative ways to get you to click that opt-in button.
Hey, get 5% off if you opt back in.
Want to continue building a relationship with us?
Well, this is not just Europe. This is everywhere.
It applies everywhere. No, it's a European regulation that because they don't collect location data for people, they're having to send it out to everyone.
That's awesome.
Like the desperate emails from the people that have been spamming me for a decade.
The past 2 weeks, it's half my email feels like that.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. And with Inbox by Gmail, it just all goes into a bit bucket, so I never even see it.
Not me. I'm getting all these, and they say like action required.
Yeah.
Like no,
that's your problem, sir, not mine.
I can get 20% off pet food. I don't want your email.
So the good news, the really good thing about all this is it means that if people have signed you up for a mailing list, they didn't confirm you actually own that email address. All of those are also applied. So they have to. The GDPR means that they have to default to not bothering you, and they have to confirm that you actually own that email address.
Yep.
Which, as somebody who has a name at gmail.com, is a really, really delightful thing.
Yeah. Awesome.
So,
cool.
Thanks, Europe.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone at Maker Faire who came up and said hi.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sometimes I know that takes some, a little bit of bravery to come say hi, but we really, really appreciate that. We don't always get to, see you guys in person, and it's always nice to meet you guys.
And maybe we'll do a meetup next year.
I had a couple people who came up to me on Sunday when I was there alone with my daughter, and I wasn't able to talk to them, and I apologize. Usually I try to say hi, and I love it when people come up and say hello, but when you're chasing a 5-year-old, it's not a good time for that. So apologies if I didn't get a chance to chat with you.
And thank you, Will Smith, for joining us this week on short notice. Kishore hopefully will be back next week, and we'll find some time to talk about Solo.
Oh, yes, please.
Next week. Awesome. We have an outro?
Justin, a.k.a. Speed, provides yet another.
Hi there, I didn't see you.
Oh, so let me see if I can start talking like this. And I've had so much JOMO lately because...
What's JOMO?
Joy of missing out?
Joy of missing out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bye.